Alright, I got a 1991 Chevy Corsica 2.2 liter engine. Don't pay attention to my shitty wiring. That's for this LED bar light. We are going to replace the water pump today. So the water pump is located underneath the alternator, and it has 13 millimeter bolts to take off, and we have this belt and tensioner pulley to take off the belt. I don't have enough space for my breaker bar, so I think I'm going to use a different tool, smaller tool. I have this catch pan for the coolant. I was going to take off the radiator hose, but I think I'm just going to try and catch what I can when I take off the water pump. So these are the tools that I have here. This is the tool I'm going to use on the tensioner pulley instead of the breaker bar, because the breaker bar doesn't fit, but this seems to fit just fine, which is a 15 millimeter socket. I'm just going to attach a bar to this, and this will give me the leverage I need to take off the belt. Here I got a 13 millimeter socket to take off the pulley, and 10 millimeter socket for good luck, I guess. I didn't end up using that, but so got my ratchet, I got a torque wrench, and I got my scraper there to scrape off any gasket leftover shit on the engine, and then I got some hammers to take off the water pump in case I have trouble with that. Got my new water pump here from AutoZone. Got my gasket, got some gasket sealer blue, and some coolant, and some few extra tools I think maybe I could use. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get to that tensioner pulley. We're going to attach this 15 millimeter socket wrench to that tensioner pulley there, and put on that breaker bar-ish, put on that pipe, make a breaker bar. I'm going to go ahead and pull that towards me and get this belt off of here. I've only done this a couple times, so well, it looked like it came off pretty easily. I'm just going to go ahead and pull that on out. Get this tool off of here. Try not to drop anything. Get that belt off of there. Remember how you take this belt off. They're pretty easy to put on and take off, especially with these small engines, these 2.2 liter engines. They're not very many pulleys, or it's pretty simple. I'm no expert mechanic, but it's pretty easy to remember. I'm going to need a new belt. You see there's some cracks in there, so I'll get a new belt. That is the water pump all ready and shown to go. First we're going to take off that pulley. So to take off that pulley, we're going to need a 13 millimeter. Looks like that socket isn't going to fit on there. I forgot about that. So I couldn't get that socket in there, unfortunately. So I'm going to use a 13 millimeter wrench, and this bigger wrench I got on here to leverage the pulley from spinning while I loosen up the bolts. And you'll see me here just switching over to the other side. Got it attached there. I'm going to put on that bigger wrench on the other two bolts because it's a 3-bolt pulley, and just get me some leverage to break one of the bolts loose. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of them. I think I may have done that already, so I'll just show that I did the one there, or the last one that I needed to do, and then I will go ahead and get the rest off with my hand. So that's the pulley with the 3 bolts there. I'll show you later on in the video how I get the wrenches attached so that I can have the leverage to take one off at a time without it spinning on me. And it seemed to work pretty well. So I take that off by hand, because I got them all broken loose, keeping the washers on the bolts. And then I'm going to get 2 hands on this pulley just so I don't drop it in, because I still have that catch pan underneath there with all the coolant. Bring that up here. Just lay that somewhere on the engine bay. This pulley seems pretty good. I don't know about bad pulleys or whatever, but it didn't seem bad to me. So anyway, we got 4 13mm bolts to pull off. You can see those first 3 there. And I'm going to show here on the other side that other 13mm bolt you need to get. You can see some of that leaking in the back where I was having that leak. This is what I'm going to use to get it off. It's 13mm socket, and I have an extension in case I need it, but I don't end up using it. Actually, I think I ended up dropping it later. So I got that on there, and I'm going to take these 13mm bolts off. First this one. This bolt looks pretty ugly. Has some of that fucking gasket sealant shit on the end of it or whatever. I'm gonna go set that aside and clean that off later with the wire brush. I'm gonna go ahead and get that other top bolt off, that wrench, show you it's dirty or whatever. And then I'm gonna switch to this other wrench here because I was having trouble getting to one of the lower bolts closer to me. So I switched to that wrench, 13mm socket. Gave me some room to get that bolt off. And then I switch over to another smaller one with another same 13mm socket. And I got that bolt off. Literally a whole chunk of that sealant just at the end of the bolt. But so I ended up pulling it off. I don't need a hammer or nothing. I was able to just pull it right out. And you see that gasket is just not good. So I'm just checking it out, whatnot. I'm probably going to clean that up later. I don't think anything was wrong with the pump itself. It was just the gasket, but it's old, so I got a new pump anyway. I'm going to take this scraper here, my gasket scraper, and scrape all that clean on the engine so we have a good new seal. And then we're going to go ahead and put on that gasket and the sealant first, or whatever, sealer. So that's the old pump I cleaned up. That's the new pump. This old pump seemed to spin just fine. You can hear like a slight scraping sound. So I'm pretty glad that I just got this new pump anyway. That one seemed pretty smooth. You couldn't hear anything. It was nice and clean. Got that gasket sealer. We're going to go ahead and throw that gasket sealer right onto the face of that pump. That's going to have this gasket go right over the sealant that we put on. So this is me putting on the sealant. I don't really recall how much I needed, but I just threw some on there, a nice even layer, not something too thick, not too thin. I go ahead and spread it around with my finger or whatever. I don't know if you're supposed to wear gloves, but I didn't. And get that all cleaned up on the edges. Go ahead and clean it up on the inside so I don't get anything on the inside of the engine. And looks pretty nice, I say. I don't know. Good enough for me. Go ahead and throw that gasket on. Put it on there. I just kind of like attached it so it doesn't fall off while I'm trying to put it in the engine. And we're going to go ahead and throw this in the car. So we are going to throw this water pump in the same way that we pulled it out. It's just right underneath the hose and a bracket, an engine mount and a bracket. there. It's pretty easy to fish up in there. You have a lot of room with this 2.2 liter in this car. It's 2.2 liter engine in this car. So go ahead and I fish it back underneath. It looks like I get a switch handoff grip there. I'm gonna go and hand it off to the other side of my hand, finally there. Put it up in its area, throw on the 2 top bolts, and then I'm going to grab some Loctite, some red Loctite, and then I'm going to put some Loctite on these bottom bolts. I just put a little bit on there, usually just like a line or something, not something that's going to leak a bunch when you tighten it in there. I don't want nothing going back into the water pump, hopefully, but I just put a little bit on both those bottom ones. After I got the bottom ones in hand tight, take out the top ones that I just put in, put the Loctite on those, so there's Loctite on all 4 bolts, and I just hand tighten all of them down real quick. So that's the new water pump on the car with hand tight bolts, and you can kind of see a little bit of the blue sealant there. Let's grab my torque wrench, and I'm gonna set it to like 10 pounds, and see I'm setting it there to 10 pounds and showing you or whatever. I'm gonna do 10 pounds first. I'm gonna do like a crisscross pattern, and then I'm gonna do the 18 pounds on the second go, and then that should be good. And the crisscross pattern I'm talking about, I'm just gonna do this top one and then bottom one across, 10 10 10 there, 10 there, going across, 18 18 18 18 pounds, and then it should be good. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm doing 10 10 and then 18 and 18 on those. And I might have skipped a little bit ahead in the video, but I did do that correctly. I got that on there. You can see some of the sealant kind of pushing out a little bit, so it's nice and tight. That's 18 pounds is to spec, I believe, for this vehicle. And same thing, you're supposed to torque these down to 18 pounds for the pulley, but I could not get my torque wrench in there, so I just did it, pretty hand tight, or I was pretty sure I wasn't going to strip the bolts. So I bring that down there and put it on, fishing a bolt. I think I was having a little trouble there or whatever, but I ended up getting it. And yeah, I think I got on the car to get it. Anyway, take off the glove so I can feel that bolt a little bit better. Put in those 13 millimeter bolts in the pulley, just hand tight around there. Yep, there's that extension that I dropped, and I found it. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on the ground. So now that I got those 13 millimeter bolts hand tight on the pulley, I'm going to grab my 13 millimeter wrench and that bigger wrench, and I'm going to attach my 13 millimeter wrench to one of the bolts, and the bigger wrench is going to be leveraged on the 2 other bolts to keep the pulley from spinning. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten down each bolt on the pulley, just a little bit, like evenly going, in circles or whatever. It's just 3 bolts, so, just one right after the other, a little tighter after the next. Get them pretty hand tight on there to where you think, you're not going to strip them. I'm hoping it's not going to be a big deal. But this is me showing you the 2 wrench trick thing there on the bolts. So I got my 13 millimeter wrench I'm pulling off that I just used to tighten that bolt. And then this bigger wrench is leveraged on those 2 other bolts to keep the pulley from spinning. And that'll pretty much help you tighten them down. So I'm going to get this belt put back on there. You're going to fish it around the bottom, however you took it off, you're going to put back on. If you need to take a little phone video of you taking it off and to help you remember, or a picture of it on, to help you remember what it is, then that's fine. Just make sure that the belt is going into its grooves real nicely. That's what I'm doing there. I'm making sure everything's in its grooves, and I got the belt lined up. So now I'm going to attach my 15 millimeter socket and my wrench onto the tensioner pulley, and you can see me try and loosen up that pulley, but I needed the breaker bar. So I got that breaker bar attached, give me the leverage I need, and I got the belt on. Now I'm just checking to make sure that everything is lined up on the pulleys, nothing is wonky, all the teeth and the lines and stuff are lined up. So that worked out. The video died on me, but I ended up filling it back up with coolant in the reservoir and inside the radiator. As I filled it up in the radiator, I squeezed these hoses, and it kind of helped get like some of the air bubbles out. And when I turned the car on, that'll help get it all out. This is me testing it. I got the car running. And we're going to check for leaks, make sure everything we installed is good. This is from the bottom of the car. I see nothing leaking. It's been running for a while. I think for a couple minutes, 5, maybe 6 minutes. And everything seems to be good. I'm checking the top. Nothing's leaking. Everything's running good. The belt's good. And the car is all good. I just let it run for a while, and I fill up the reservoir as needed, and all the air bubbles will get out of the car, I believe, just as you keep it running. I don't know how to usually do it, but it seemed to work for me, so that's great.